In this video, it is time to keep working on the Team Associated DC10. I picked up the high flex chassis, lower deck, and the upper deck with the high mount motor. We're going to be swapping out the factory chassis to this one and seeing just how much difference it makes. If you are new to the channel, welcome. My name is Troy. This is RoadsideRC. You'll tend to find me bashing or crawling or drifting or racing, plus doing product review videos and how-tos. I also have a passion for helping people get started in RC drifting, and I've had a lot of my viewers asking about this Team Associated DC10 here recently. So I've got a whole host of upgrades that I'm going to be going through with it on this car. First is this high flex chassis that the factory Team Associated has put out. So let's get a first level look at what it looks like versus the factory chassis. Now I can't compare these 100% to the factory chassis because I had already attempted to make my own flexi chassis by actually cutting out this piece from the factory right here. And that did help actually. If you come in, because of that loss, you can actually see the loss of strength here. That translates to a lot more movement, but the bottom chassis was still really stiff, and so it didn't really do much at the end of the day for increased flex. So now you can see with this one how this will end up sitting here. So obviously two pieces more independent here versus what we had before. Looks like we're gonna have to figure out something about the servo mounting. Maybe the servo is gonna have to mount to the bottom, because before the servo mounted up here up top. So we're gonna have to do something about that as we do this change. And then here on the bottom though is where the big difference comes. Step one, if we lay these on top of each other, this whole up front piece here looks basically the same, a little bit thinner here where you can see the material still sticking through, but up here is predominantly the same. Here in the middle, a lot of material taken out right here. But then most importantly is these two cuts. And so instead of that chassis being solid back here and giving you all that strength, they have it cut here. So this little thin part is the only location where this chassis is connected, and that's what's going to end up giving us all that flex and potential additional traction and speed. Looks like all the other screws line up just perfectly, and yes, we have the couple places here where we're going to end up mounting that servo to the bottom chassis plate here. Note, I have previously actually moved my servo from here to also a location back here. I actually moved my whole servo more rearward than what it is supposed to be. It does not look like this chassis allows for that, because my other hole needs to be like right over here. So I'm either going to need to get creative as I mount this in to try to figure out how to do that, or I'm going to end up having to swap back over to the factory link here and moving this servo forward. Now swapping the chassis over is going to be, of course, a little bit tedious. You just got to be careful and take your time as you do this. I'm going to come in here, because of how I have the front and rear separated, I'm going to come in here and remove these 8 screws, and then I'm going to be able to take the whole rear section and transfer it over. As you slide this up and off, be really careful here, because if you remember, we have a little metal shim here that goes underneath that rear mount arm, and you want to make sure whatever spacers you have here that you are making sure that they stay in the right orientation. I had that one spacer in the rear, and I have one in the rear here, 2 up front. As we go to the new chassis, making sure that the countersunk side is up, we need to make sure that we are putting all those right parts back together correctly. Well, that was easy for me, of course. Now, of course, if you have the mount connecting the upper chassis, then obviously you would have had to have taken those 2 screws out to free it from the upper chassis brace as well. Obviously, I'm going to have to be putting that back in for me, since I had previously taken it out. But yeah, we're in good shape already. That part is moved over. I'll probably go ahead and move the rear bumper over, maybe go ahead and move the battery mount, some of the easy stuff, and then we'll get on to tackling the upper chassis. And again, with the battery mounting here, kudos again to the factory team engineers, because look, you can literally just slide that whole battery tray. You have a huge amount of adjustability on that battery tray. Now, of course, I'm a rear weight bias guy, and I'm going to run a shorty battery here, so I'm going to smash it back as far as I can, and then just watch to make sure that my battery clears this spur gear, because otherwise that'll make a mess. I like it. You can already see some of the flex here. Just even in my hand, you can see how that chassis is going to flex. It's going to be very interesting to see how this does. Moving on to the front half, I'm going to go ahead and take the servo mount out. Now I have the 2 screws in the top. I have one screw in the bottom. Probably, I think it came with 4 from the factory, but when I moved it back, I lost a hole. If you're running the factory tie rod here, then you're just mount it in the original location. It's just a little bit forward here. It's about I don't know, what is that, an inch or so forward compared to where I have it here. With a little grinding on the bottom of the chassis there, I am actually able to mount the servo to the bottom chassis in that more rearward position, so that is good. Well, long term, we'll see how good that really holds up. Now I am to a place where everything is just here in the front, so just like we did in the rear, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 screws, and then this whole front bulkhead is just going to lift and sit down right here on the front of the new chassis. Just like in the rear, gotta watch out for that little shim that just fell down in there. Plus, it looks like I have 0 spacers in the front, 2 spacers in the rear. Gotta watch out for all of that. Aha! Look at this. We are getting there. We have most of the chassis back together. We still, of course, need to get the top chassis plate all moved over. So 2 screws here to free all this up. Let's wiggle that front chassis plate out my old one, and then we will start working on mounting up the new one. Of course, one of the things I'm always very curious about, total weight of the chassis. So upper and lower plate together, 60 grams. If you can see that on the screen there, 60 grams. And this is really interesting. So factory chassis, 82 grams, but you got to remember, I also have like a big chunk of this upper missing. So it would actually be more than that 82 grams. So we were taking a decent amount of weight out of the car with this flexible chassis as well. So kind of a win-win if you do. Everything is assembled. All is back together. The chassis looks great. Everything bolted on with 0 problems. Oh gosh, look at how flexy. Oh, we have all of the flexing happening here. I'm not even really pushing that hard. A couple things to note. You can see here why you don't attach the servo to that upper plate. Look at how that upper plate moves in relation to the servo. That moves a lot, doesn't it? My Red Cat RDS battery mounts still work like an absolute champ. Thing bolted up nicely. The factory team did a good job thinking this chassis out. I'm excited now to get it to the track. So the next step is for me. I'm going to do a couple of the other aluminum upgrades that Team Associated factory team has released for this chassis, and then I want to get the car out to the tracks. So if you are interested in buying these chassis plates, there'll be a link to them down in the video description where you can go get them. If I missed anything in the install, if you have any questions about it, please leave those down in the video comments. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have. Otherwise, like I said, more upgrades coming for this chassis, so stay tuned. There will be a Team Associated DC10 playlist popping up over to your right, and I hope to see you in one of those videos. We'll be testing out all the other upgrades and giving this thing a full shakedown on the track. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.